So this was my single solo cup method versus the seedling snail challenge that I started about a month ago when I got all my tomatoes started. And as you can see, we have lots of growth happening. My snails are loaded with tomatoes, a bunch of different varieties. And my method with my solo cups is to, once these plants get above the rim of the cup, I usually remove all the leaves in the stem and top it up with some potting soil, creating a nice strong plant with lots of roots. So you may notice something though that I forgot to do here, and that was to thin out my seedlings. I don't know, I was just so busy this past month with other things that I forgot to go in and thin out all the plants except for one. So now I've got these beautiful tomatoes fighting for space in these solo cups. I got 2 and 3 plants in each of these. So I'm sitting here trying to decide, should I just cut out all but one and toss away those beautiful tomatoes, or should I try to save them and pot them up in other containers? And of course, I gotta try. I'm gonna try and remove 1 or 2, leaving 1 in the solo cup, pot them up in another container, and end up with way more tomatoes than I need. And I'm also just not quite sure what I am going to do with 20 blueberry cherry tomatoes that I got going in this snail. Again, I want to be able to share them with people, but I'm going to have to put them into another container and try to, keep them going. And so then I can share them with others. So I think in today's video, we will also attempt to unravel a snail and see if we can repot some of these tomatoes into, another solo cup or 3 or 4 inch container. So my whole idea of saving space by using the snails was great up until now, when we are getting to the point where I got to do something with all these tomatoes. They can't go outside yet. We are still like 4 weeks away from last frost date. So these got to be, kept indoors for at least another month. I usually do not put out my tomatoes till end of May. So we're going to sit down here at the table, fill up a bunch more of these 3-inch cups with some potting soil, and multiply our tomatoes into many, many more. Okay, stay tuned. Let's get at it. Okay, so I've kind of got my setup ready here to do some potting, transplanting, whatever we want to call it here. I call it tomato surgery. We'll see. I have counted up 27 plants here amongst all these solo cups. We'll see how many of these we can remove safely and repot up into other containers. So first of all, I'm starting off with a Firebird dwarf. It's a determinate variety. Make sure that you mark your cups before you start. I think there's 3 in here, so we're going to see if we can pot 2 of them or transplant them. Not quite sure how it's going to work. Actually, oh no, there's 5 in here. Okay, I'm just going to try and try pulling to start with. See what that does. Pretty simple. So these are pretty tiny, and I think those, we will probably just throw those into the compost pile, not try to save them. They're pretty small. I got one nice one here that's in the middle, and then actually another 2 that are together down here on the edge. I'm a pretty sloppy planter, but as you can see there, we got some nice roots. Can we get these apart? Just kind of shake them a little bit, see, gently tease them apart, see if they are able to safely come apart. I think so. The roots look good. Plants look good. So let's get them potted. I'm going to just clip off the little codlin leaves. Those are the first 2 leaves that come out. And put one there. plant one up in here. Try to get the roots down. And then I'm going to top it up with some more potting soil. It's probably going to be messy. Okay. So I think that went all right. Probably what I'll do if this, doesn't die and keeps growing, I will top it up with some more potting soil once it grows up above the lip of the cup. As you can see, they have those tiny little hairs on their stem. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll try to zoom in so that you can have a better look, but those little hairs will all turn into roots if they are, put into soil. So that's what my process is with these, is to always let them grow above the cup and then top it up all the way to the top with more potting soil so that you have, a really nice solid root ball when it comes time to plant them into the garden. I'm finding just trying to pull them out just seems a little bit too harsh. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of just taking the whole plant out. That way I can easily separate the two if they're kind of intertwined. Just see if I can get as much root as possible. And then put it over here, pinch off the two little leaves. And then we will top this up with more soil. I feel like people are going to be like really giving me a hard time in the comments about what I'm doing here, but I really want to try to save as many tomatoes as I can. We again it's still not even the end of April here, and I usually don't plant out my tomatoes until very end of May, even after May long weekend, even after that risk of frost date, which is usually around May 15th. So if these don't die, they should be a nice sized plant by then. Okay, so this took about an hour and I have separated all my tomatoes from my solo cups. I now have 29 tomato plants. I think I have about 6 or 7 different varieties. Some are indeterminate, some are bush. We got cherries, we got mortgage lifters, Manitoba, Romas. So we got all the kinds here. So if this transplanting didn't shock them to death and they survive, that'll be great. I'm going to put these in a sunny window. Okay, so now we are going to try unraveling one of our seedling snails here that I have filled up with tomatoes. They are getting, pretty big and overgrown, but, I would keep them in here if I thought I was going to be planting all of these into my garden, but I do not need, I don't know, there's about 10 or so Roma tomatoes here, and I do not need all 10 of them. And I want to be able to maybe share them with other people. So I'm going to unravel. We're going to try and pull a few out, plant them up here in solo cups now, and get them through that shock period. We have another 3 or 4 weeks, like I said, to go before last frost date. So if we can get them into a solo cup by themselves, get those roots established, get that plant a little bit stronger, hopefully I can share some of these beautiful Roma tomatoes with somebody else and keep a few for myself. So we are going to try the unraveling. I gave it a pretty good watering from top to bottom so that the soil is nice and moist. I think that will help with the unraveling so it doesn't crumble or it kind of sticks together. And just start unraveling. Some of these are starting to bend over, but you just don't want your dirt to stick to whatever type of stuff you have here. I have bubble wrap, so it seems to be coming away from it fairly easily. Just got to kind of make sure it's comes untangled here at the top so you don't rip any of these plants. And just kind of pull down the dirt. That way you can have a good look and see what kind of roots we got going here inside our snail. That's what it looks like. I'll just bring the camera around so we can really zoom in on the roots. Have a good look. So you can see the roots are growing straight down. And that's kind of what the benefit of the snail was. It keeps them separated from each other so they are not getting all intertwined. And I should be able to just take one, hopefully. So I'm hoping I can just grab it like this and put it into a solo cup. Then I'm just gonna surround it with some more potting soil here. So I don't think I would use the seedling snail method for tomatoes again. I just find having that many tomatoes in a snail of one variety is not, the way I want it, because I do not plant that many tomatoes. I have maybe about 10 or a dozen or so tomato plants total in my garden, and all different varieties. So planting up a bunch in a snail that are all the same variety, it isn't really any advantage to me. But yeah, it was kind of a fun test anyway. So there's one Roma that I have transplanted up now. It's topped up with lots of soil. I got some holes cut in the bottom here for drainage. We got about 3 weeks to go to try and really get this thing growing, get it strong and ready to go out into the garden. We'll see how we can get a couple of these big ones apart that are kind of intertwined. Like these ones right at the end. They're both really nice size tomatoes. But whether we can tease these roots apart and save them both, it kind of works out if you just wiggle and pull gently. As you can see there, I got both of these separated now, so that worked out okay. And we will just get them into the solo cups. I'm going to pinch off any leaves that are below the lip of the cup so I can top it up with soil. I think I'll just set it up like that. I usually just hold my fingers across the lip like this while I put some more soil in. That way you can kind of center it, pack it in. There we go. I think this is going to work out okay. Again, I'm just going to pinch all of these tiny little hairs on the stem. Should root out hopefully in the next few weeks and give us a nice strong seedling. Okay, so the next challenge for me is going to be finding space in my sunny windows for all these tomatoes. I think I am going to be somewhere around 50 by the time I take out some of the other snails I have going and all the ones that I had in solo cups that I had to split up. We're well over 50 plus tomato plants, various different varieties. And if I can keep them happy and healthy over the next month, maybe I can sell a few at the local garage sale in town coming up at the end of May. If not, I'll be giving them out to friends. I'll do whatever I can to make sure that these tomatoes get grown somewhere and hopefully produce some beautiful tomatoes. So I hope you enjoyed watching the tomato challenge here with my solo cups seedling snails. I think next year I'll probably stick with my single cup solo method, but who knows what kind of things can pop up between now and then that I might want to try. So lots of things happening here on the little garden on the prairies. We are just getting into the outdoor planting season. Lots of direct sowing happening and getting garden beds ready, waiting for the temperatures to warm up at night past that last frost date so that we can really get all these wonderful tomatoes out into the garden. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.